Let's have a nice cup of TRE in the afternoon with Hannah Murray.
Joining us on the line now is Pushkar Anand and Blaine Bartlett, who are authors of Manifest Your Infinite Riches. Pushkar believes that every human being is infinitely rich, both materially and spiritually, and this book teaches us how to tap into the source. Welcome to the show, guys.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to meet you. Thank you all.
It's great to have you with us. So, Pushkar, tell us first of all about your background and your journey, because it's a fascinating one.
Oh, it is indeed, Hannah. It's a 15-year journey that started in the early days of my banking career when I was about 30, successful by most traditional standards. But there was an emptiness within me. I was working for the world's largest bank. I went to the London School of Economics, but there was an emptiness inside to understand what is the meaning of life. And that journey started with an interest, trying to read books that helped me get the answers to those questions. But I didn't get the answers. I got partial answers, and my interest metamorphosed into a passion. The passion became an obsession. To some point, by the time I got to the year 2014-15, I was at a point where I was starting to understand what it means to succeed in life, but I was nowhere near ending the quest. And once I got through about 250 odd books and I went to some 15, 20 seminars and workshops in the US, in one of those, I bumped into this wonderful man called Blaine Bartlett, whom I call Grandmaster B Square. He's actually done the foreword for the book. I'd written it, and we started chatting. And he agreed to help me in my quest. And then in addition to all of my reading and workshops, we started with an hourly session a month, which went on about 4 years. Now, I'm going to pass it to Grandmaster B Square to share his views on what happened in those 4 or 5 years, and then we'll come back to the last phase after COVID.
Okay. Well, Blaine, nice to meet you. Just tell us a little bit about you and your background, if you can.
Thank you, Hannah. Yes. As Pushkar has alluded to, I'm based here in the United States, up in the Seattle area. My work for the past 40 plus years has been in the domain of leadership development, and the focal point has to do with what are the spiritual underpinnings to the way that organizations, to the way that individuals actually position themselves in the world. And there's a phrase from a very well-known teacher of mine, Neville Goddard, that goes something to the effect of: the circumstances of life are the muffled utterances of the inner talking that made them. Yeah, anything that goes on that we experience in our outer world is a projection of the inner dialogue that goes on in our spiritual mind. And it gets manifested externally. So the work that I've done is all organized around how do we actually enhance the possibility of thriving on this planet. So when I first met Pushkar, he had asked me if I would do some one-on-one coaching consultation with him. And at that point in time, I was not taking on any new clients, particularly on a one-on-one basis. But he was particularly persistent in the way that he positioned himself, was intriguing to me. And there was something there other than just somebody that wanted to be more successful at doing what they were already doing. So I agreed to begin an exploration with him. And that, as he mentioned, led to a 4-year relationship formally and a longer relationship informally. And in that process, he moved away from wanting to become the CEO of a large international bank to something that I think is far more fungible and far more impactful in the world today.
Fascinating.
Thank you. It was just at the end of the journey, Hannah. I'll just take back there. So this journey completed just around COVID. And when I started with Grandmaster B Square, the aspiration in my heart was to end the emptiness, but look at it through a route of traditional success. But that transformation, metamorphosis happened by the time we got to COVID, and it changed to understanding what is my purpose in life? Why do we do what we do? Right? Is there a reason we do it other than earning money? That's the question I went towards. And then I found my purpose, which I define as uplifting humanity. And the Grandmaster and I sat down in 21 or thereabouts, and I said, there's so much I've learned in this 15-year journey. I've got to more than 500 books or 30 plus seminars. We worked together for more than 4 years. I want to take this out. And we agreed that I'll write a book and share my learnings with the world. And Manifest Your Infinite Riches was born, available in more than 50 countries. We already hit international bestseller a couple of days ago. So it's looking good. Yeah.
Amazing. So you've mentioned success a few times, Pushkar, and I'm assuming that throughout this journey, your definition of success has changed. How would you explain that?
No, absolutely, Hannah. I absolutely love that question. And when I started out on the journey, it was a hugely traditional definition. I want to get more of what I'm doing. How can we get more money, more material things? But as the metamorphosis happened over a period of years, and as I said, I studied intensely, and one of the definitions, a man called Earl Nightingale, is one of the founders of the personal development industry in America. He used to say, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, which I like very much, but my definition is you are successful when you're living your purpose. You see, Hannah, there's a hugely fundamental relationship between purpose and money. When you chase your purpose, money chases you. When you chase money away from your purpose, you always keep chasing money. And this is a core theme of the book. We have a wonderful website, centerforinfiniteriches.com. That's the enterprise we have behind the book, where between Grandmaster and me, we have a combination of paid programs and free videos. And we go so much deeper into this concept of money and purpose and success and how it comes together. Grandmaster B Square, any thoughts from you to add on that, please?
Well, yeah, I'll just pick up on the thread around money as an example. Well, there's 2 points to that. One is, people chase purpose as if it's out there somewhere. Purpose resides internally. And when we can become still, when we can actually quiet the monkey mind of the ego, the purpose that each of us has, which is unique to each of us, begins to emerge. There's a small voice that begins to whisper to us. We don't go find our purpose. Our purpose is already within us, and it begins to express itself when we allow it to do so. So that would be, one piece, and this is one of the pieces we address in the book, or the Pushkar eloquently addresses in the book. The other piece has to do with most people misunderstand or don't have a good understanding, I guess would be a more appropriate way of saying it, of what money actually is. It's not the bill that you hold in your hand, the coin that you have in your purse. Money is energy. Money is useless until it's transformed into something that has utility. And this is why it is actually an energetic component. So when I proffer a 10-pound note to somebody, it transforms into something that is consumed, either by terms of...
Oh, you're breaking up. We're losing you.
Yeah, I'll just carry on till we get him back. I think the fundamental point being that money in itself doesn't mean much. It's the vibrational frequency alignment.
It's frequency alignment, absolutely. It's frequency alignment.
We've got you back.
I'm not sure that I was lost.
Yes, you disappeared, but don't worry, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I get lost quite often. So... but the idea of frequency matching. So when we think of money as energy, everything in this world operates off of frequency. Everything vibrates, everything moves. There is nothing that is statically rigid. When you go down to the quantum level, everything is vibrating, including ourselves. And this is true also of the notion and the idea of money. So when I can actually begin to move at the frequency level at which money exists, I begin to attract it to me. And the law of attraction is actually a secondary law, and its foundational law that it's built upon is the law of vibration. Everything moves, everything vibrates. So when I start matching certain frequencies, things that are in that frequency band begin to attract themselves to me. So one of the things that we speak to in the Center for Infinite Riches and in the book is looking to how we can actually shift our frequencies. If we don't have the experiences that we'd like to have in our lives, let's move our frequency band. Instead of trying to manipulate external reality, we work from the inside out.
I want to ask you a bit more on that because, funnily enough, a friend of mine, we were talking about this exact subject a few weeks ago, talking about the fact that if you, I guess it comes back to the law of attraction, but just imagine yourself wealthy and imagine abundance and money coming to you. And it's not a case of thinking of it happening. It just is happening. It's hard to explain, isn't it? But for people who have never done this kind of thing, how do you explain how it works? The difference between sitting in the thought process of, I haven't got much money, I need more money, I wish I had more money in order to do nice things, compared to, I have money, I am abundant, I attract money, things come to me all the time, having those difference in attitudes.
Mm-hmm.
Should we...
Go ahead, Pushkar, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Why don't we do it like this? I think this is a topic which can go on literally for hours. I'll let Grandmaster B Square give his thoughts, then I'll give mine, and hopefully put the two together. Our audiences will find it valuable.
The difficulty that people have with the law of attraction is that they think that it's purely an imaginal act. So this is the vision boards and whatnot. So just having the picture in my mind as I sit quietly, or when I gaze over to my vision board and I see it and I just, imagine what it would be like. The key component that is oftentimes missing is the experience that is associated with the having. So there's an emotional construct. Human beings vibrate through emotional, in our emotional body. So we begin to feel as if we already are where we'd like to be. So it's the transmutation of the picture into a feeling structure that is in alignment with that picture that we'd like to see manifested in our life. When we begin to match from a frequency, from an emotional perspective, that it's already here, I just haven't arrived, or that's the magic that begins to occur with that. There's a way that gets accomplished that is different from everyday thinking. And this is what we want to be able to teach people how to do. So that's the simplest way that I can describe that. Manifestation in this context has to do, and attraction in this context has to do with frequency, emotional matching.
Yep. And that's a great foundation to start with. And I'll speak to our viewers and audience and say, go away with that foundation, but go to, it doesn't cost you a penny. We have a bunch of free videos on centerforinfinitewitches.com. One of those is the mind. It's a 5 or 6 minute video. Look at it carefully, follow it, where I've actually explained what Grandmaster B Square said here. I've explained it in a different way, explaining to you, breaking up for you, how the mind is composed, what the mind is. The mind is not the brain. Right? Never think of the mind as the brain. The brain is a physical, tangible organ. The mind is an invisible enterprise. It's an invisible enterprise we have, which is way beyond the brain. I explain that, and then I tie it up with what happens inside of you to manifest. Right? So if you try getting an understanding of that, that will give a good idea in terms of how the manifestation process works. And everything else beyond that, with multiple chapters, chapter on affirmations and vision boards, and Mind Movies, a good friend of ours, Natalie Ledwell. She's also on the board of the Center for Infinite Riches. She set up Mind Movies years ago. That's a fancier version of vision boards. There are lots of methods. The point being, all of these methods do one thing. They change what is inside of you in the subconscious mind. And that is what leads to a manifestation experience. I'll just pause there. We don't want to overdo it with the information, but hopefully, Hannah, that gives a good foundation between what we said.
Yeah, no, absolutely it does. I think for people who haven't practiced manifestation before or law of attraction, it kind of sounds either too easy or just impossibly hard. Do you know what I mean?
I'll chip in there, Hannah. And this is, again, another point I love to discuss. It's very, very easy, right? It's easy, but it's not simple, right? For example, you could give it that definition and say, because there's a difference between how these two things work. Or depending on how you define it, you could turn back and say, it's a very simple concept, but it's not an easy concept. It's very basic to understand what you have to do. But when you get down to doing it, right, that is what needs practice and repetition. Because what we have inside of us has come over years or decades. It's not come overnight. Where people go wrong is they think I can change this overnight. You can't change something inside of you, what we call a pattern in the subconscious mind overnight. You just can't. Unless there's a shock to the system, death of a loved one, COVID, it can change. Otherwise, it doesn't. These things need work, study, and repetition. And then it might take a few months, it might take a year. It took me almost 15 years, but all that we've packaged in the book, all the programs we have, a program called Stick Tattoos of Money. That's a trademark registered concept. All of these things, for example, help you bring about that change. But it's not an overnight scale. Grandmaster B Square, would you like to add anything there, please?
The one thing that I'm mindful of here is the use of the word imagination. Imagination is, Carl Jung, the philosopher, said that without the play of the imagination, nothing of consequences ever come into being. And it's my experience that the imagination is the gateway into the soul. Because it's the, true imagination, true and imaginal acts are coming from inside. It's coming from the spirit that wants to express itself. Spirit is continuously moving to and through everything. And so when I can actually begin to learn how to manage and leverage the use of my imagination, it gives me access into that spiritual energy. And I'm not talking about this in a religious context. I'm talking about it in a life-affirming, life-expressing context. So to your listeners, Hannah, I would just encourage them to become a child again and play with the imagination. Don't let what they see in their bank account or what they see in their world be a damper on the play of the imagination. And then the next step there, obviously, is to move into some sort of action. And the first action step is to begin to match frequency. What would it feel like if that bank account had 4 or 5 more zeros in it? And a number in front of it rather than another zero. So
yeah. And
sorry, Hannah, just such a valid point there again for the viewers that you have to. It's Grandmaster B Square talked about Neville Goddard earlier as one of the greatest teachers in the history of the personal development space. One of his favorite quotations was, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, that's easy to do. I'll share an example with you. And this is literally 4 days ago. So I made up my social media accounts. I wasn't hot over the years. We did it literally 4 days ago. And then two of those, I wrote as myself as the author of the global phenomenon, Manifest Infinite Riches. And my 12-year-old tells me, well, it's not a global phenomenon. It's just come out 3 days ago. I said, I don't care whether it is or not today. To me, it is. And I believe that. And the next day, we hit number 2 international bestseller.
Wow. Brilliant. I love it. So if you had both of you, this is a question for both of you, one kind of top tip for people listening who want to attract money, who want to have more money in their bank accounts and are thinking, oh yeah, this all sounds great. Where do I start? What would your advice be, other than buy your book, of course?
Grandmaster B Square first, please. I'll chip in.
Yeah, there's a large part of this, Hannah, has to do with attitude and thinking. So a couple of things here, and this is where the play of the imagination once again comes into use. Don't go to the ocean with a teaspoon if you're trying to fill a bucket. Yeah, you dream big, do something that's, think of things that will scare you, because that moves you out of your egoic persona. When you start, activating something that is exhilarating, if you think of a jet coaster, a roller coaster in a theme park, you're right at the crest and it starts to tumble over and goes downhill. There's an experience in the body that is generated. The heart rate goes up. The eyes dilate, the palms become sweaty. You can describe that as either fear or you can describe that as excitement. The labeling matters. So find dreams that excite you, and then you step into them and you start living from them. You start behaving as if it were already there. This is the way that you begin to leverage the imagination. It starts with something that is not common thinking, something that is exciting thinking, an aspirational piece that moves you and moves your body, not just your physical body, your emotional and your spiritual body as well, into a new place. And it's that state of being that begins to generate the results that we have in our life.
Yeah. Great. What would you say, Pushkar?
Well, I agree with everything Grandmaster B Square said, and I'll share a few tips a little bit differently. I'd say that you have to define your relationship with money. Define your relationship with money in turn means you have to be on a vibrational frequency alignment with the amount of money you want in your life. How does that happen? That happens when you do certain things in certain ways. Right? You can read the book, of course. There's a whole chapter on money. It's called Money, Money, Money. Is it really about the money? The first chapter of the book is titled Money. There's the 6 Statutes of Money. There's a program on the website called the 6 Statutes of Money. I'd urge you to go into that if you're serious about it. But if you don't want to buy a program, we have 4 free gifts on the first page. And one of those gifts is chapter 1 titled Money. Read it, right? You have money chasing you. When you rise above the money, this is such a fundamental law of nature. When you rise above the money, you define your relationship with money, put it away on the side, focus on your purpose. The money chases you. Even today, Hannah, and people ask me, are you excited about this? You're going to earn millions out of it. I said, I don't think about the millions. I know roughly what I want against my name. I don't keep going back to it. I'm chasing something so much bigger that money chases me. And I don't know if you've seen the film Chariots of Fire or if our audiences have. And right at the end, when Eric Liddell is running, the background music, the background voice in his mind goes, God made me for a purpose. God made me fast. And when I run, I feel God's pleasure. This is something which explains the concept of purpose. And I was recently interviewed by Jack Canfield, a wonderful man who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. And that interview is all over social media and my website as well. And we talk about this concept in so much more depth there. So it ties up together your relationship with money, purpose, how you merge the two together and bring about the transformation within yourself in a way that Grandmaster talked about also. So that's the sum and substance of this way of living.
Yeah. Great stuff. Well, thank you both so much for joining us, Pushkar Anand and Blaine Bartlett. And the book is available on our website, TRE.radio. It's called Manifest Your Infinite Riches. So people can buy it from there. It's by Pushkar Anand with the foreword by Blaine Bartlett. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been our pleasure. Thank you.
This is TRE.